And there I was. I found my own voice within that collective. They're going to make their own stories unless you give them the story. So the obvious story that children are going to make growing up, particularly in Cape Town, South Africa, is that Black people are inferior to white people. Neighbors will greet each other. Come on, sisters and the brothers. Even enemies will come to be friends.
Welcome to Colourful, a podcast where we navigate culture, identity, and the complexities of grappling with race and privilege in South Africa. My name is Zolani Mahola. I am joined in studio by my best friend and favorite human, Stacey Jane. And we are actually, we're geeking out today. Proper.
Girl fanning the girl. Because today we have in studio with us somebody who is just an absolute legend in our country. Somebody who has healed hearts, who's acknowledged pain, who uses the most beautiful storytelling alongside that gorgeous voice to really bring us together as South Africans, but while being cognizant of where we came from. Zolani Mahola, it is just so special to have you in studio with us today.
Wow, guys, thank you. What a beautiful intro. Thank you. I'm also very, very happy to be on your podcast. I'm a fan of your podcast. So it's a pleasure for me to be on this.
Thank you so much for coming through. But before we get into everything about you, because I think we've just spent the past 5 minutes absolutely telling us how you are in our consciousness at every pivotal moment in our collective. But we have a red nails segment to do with you. Stacey, explain.
Okay, so you will have noticed, since you are a fan, that we love to paint one-handed nails red. Case in point. Sometimes Senna paints two, but it's fine. And so what we do is we believe that red is bold and it's feminine and it speaks about it's certainly making a statement. And so we love to invite our guests to paint one-handed nails red. And so far, aside from the times when Senna and I forget the red nail polish at home, no guest has ever said no.
Yes.
So that's pretty cool, and we're going to invite you to do that today.
Cool.
I think Senna will hold the bottle and you just do your painting.
Yeah.
All right, it's not my strong suit, but...
No, it's not your strong suit. Okay, cool.
We've had men paint their nails who have obviously never painted nails before, and they've managed.
Yeah, they really do.
Do they?
Yeah. So let me know if you want me to hold the bottle for you up here, or you're good to...
I'm good.
Okay, great.
For now, I think I might have to pass it to you.
So Zolani, we were talking exactly about just each of our individual stories, and you certainly feature so much in my childhood and my upbringing. But before we get into all of that, I want to know, and you're a musician, an artist, a legend, what song do you think brings out your inner child?
What song brings out my energy? Yeah. And Senna, are you talking about a song that I've written or
anything?
Or
if you think of Black girlhood, Zolani upbringing, capturing that girlhood, what would resonate with you?
Oh, cute. Okay, maybe on any given day it would be different answers, but for some reason Spice Girls is in my brain right now.
I did the same. When you asked this question, I literally did the same. Yeah.
Tell me what you want, what you really want.
I want people singing with you right now.
On any, as I say, it could be a different answer tomorrow, but for today, let's go with Spice Girls.
Spice Girls. Steve, you?
No, I just told you.
Oh, Spice Girls. Am I the only one?
Okay. Spice Girls.
I would say probably Nelly Furtado, I Like a Bird.
Oh.
There's something so freeing and just
I'm like a bird.
Great.
Yeah, good choice.
Yeah. So, but you spoke, let's see.
Oh. Really?
Oh, we're
I mean...
you look great. You look incredible. I'm just more obsessed with that piece of jewelry.
I was just going to say, look at the ring.
That's very generous. generous.
Yeah.
It's a nice color. It's a nice red. It's a nice
gold.
red.
It's a confidence boost.
Yeah.
Exactly the type that we sort of need to get into this discussion today, because we want to go there. We want to be deep. We want to be vulnerable.
Oh, let's immediately go there.
Let's go there. We trauma bond so much sometimes, or we get too much too soon. But
it's never too soon.
Yeah.
I mean, everything is just below the surface, isn't it?
That's true.
So we might as well go there.
Let's go there. Let's start with your upbringing.
Yes.
You speak extensively about growing up in New Brighton Township in Gqeberha.
Yes.
You speak about events that have sort of shaped you, but particularly there's this moment in the 80s that stands out to you when an anti-apartheid protest breaks out.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that moment in your childhood?
Yeah, I absolutely can. It was a seminal moment for me, because it's not the only memory that I have of that time and of protest at that time, but it's the most crystal clear one. And if I were to think about being politicized, I would never have said at that age, which was probably what, like 9, 10, whatever, the kiddie. I wouldn't have said, because I wouldn't have had that kind of language, that I was being politicized. But what happened was that I was washing the dishes, you know, as like 9-year-old, 10-year-olds do in locations, you know, doing the chores, and hearing the sound of like a mass of people coming from down the road from Centenary Hall. So I live on a very long street called Njekisa, that has, on the one end, it has the charge office, which is like the municipal kind of area, and then like on the other end it has a hall called the Centenary Hall, where there are, you know, the events, you know, things like that. So I heard people coming from, this group of people coming, stomping from Centenary Hall side, and looked, and when they came kind of to my house, and my house is front facing, is right on the street, just feeling this feeling of like almost osmotically being pulled into this crowd of people who were singing and dancing, and not knowing anything really. Like, people didn't speak about Mandela. You know, they didn't speak about the water and the air that we were swimming and breathing in, much like the times today. You know, exactly, you know, like there's so much that is still unspoken, but that is still like the thick fabric of our society. So in that same way, the 80s, the late 80s, there was lots of agitation, there were lots of states of emergency, but still it wasn't like, you know, parents weren't sitting down with kids and going like, there is a system called apartheid and people are agitating to bring it down. No, there weren't any of those conversations. In fact, if I will just step back a little bit now to 2024, there is an uncle of mine who was a poet and a writer, a very sweet, gentle man, Zolani Mahola, one of my dad's brothers. He put out a book last year, 2024, and this book was called Forgotten Bastards, and it was about his time in the struggle, and he was deep in the struggle. His children had never known.
Wow.
His children had never known that the level. They might have known, like, okay, maybe my dad was a little bit. Never. The sweetest, kindest, gentlest man, spaza shop owner, poet, you know. But deep. He was deep. Like, I'm talking about disguises, guys. I'm talking about crossing borders. I'm talking about
Hiding.
guns. I'm talking about hiding. I'm talking about like violence towards him. And violence, I think also that he had to perpetrate as well.
Yeah.
So it's in this environment that I'm this little kid and hearing this mass of people and hearing these songs and feeling this kind of energy of togetherness that pulled me into it. And there I found my own voice within that collective and put my own harmony into, you know, Skololo Mandela, Skololo Mandela. You know, in the morning we're freeing Mandela.
Yeah.
You know, and I always say, like, when I do talks about this time, like, I didn't know who Mandela was. Didn't know who Mandela was, you know, but we are freeing Mandela. And having that, so for me, I think that if I look back on it, if I take another long lens of it, that was the beginning, and not only of being politicized in a way, you know, but also just that the joy of that community feeling, that joy of that being a part of.
The
that,
sort of euphoria.
The euphoria, and that even as a kid, that adding your voice to the melody, to the greater melody, has an impact, you know, and that you are like, you matter within that crowd. yeah, was awesome.
I have a question around that. As a mother,
Yeah. Yes.
it is really important that we share what's happening with our children in the country.
Yes.
At the same time, we want to acknowledge their intelligence. We want to
Ah.
play to their intelligence, but we want to balance that with the fact that these are children and they need to focus on the job of being children. And so, even within a highly politicized environment that you lived in, it seems to me as though you were able, you were protected, yet a part of what was happening. And I know you've spoken about how your parents protected you from what was happening, and how, later your father sent you to a multiracial school and all these kinds of things. So what is your advice to parents around how much we share and where? And
Stacey, that is such a good question. And of course, I've got young children as well. So I'm sitting with this very question myself. And my children are mixed race. So they don't present as white because they're not white, and yet that is a big part of their heritage as well. So it's an interesting one. Like I'll make a little example before I try to answer that question. Like when my eldest son, who is now almost 12, when he was about 4 or 5, he made this observation. He said, how come all the black people are car guards, are gardeners, are maids, are servers, are waiters? Guys, at such a young age that he had asked and articulated this question and realized that he was so
observant.
Observing, And I had to tell him, well, my child, there was this system in our country, called apartheid. I told him right then and then. Of course, he can't feel the magnitude of, but basically, I think you, especially when kids are there's something that is calling for. There's something that is asking, that is, when you can see that crack of awareness, you know your children, man. You kind of have a sense of what they can take, even if they can't take as much, as much as you want to give. I think that they are more capable of accept, especially for me, there's also a thing of clarity, man. It's kind of a similar thing to growing up in a situation in a house where there is abuse.
Yeah.
Right? And people are aware of it, but it's not spoken. They still, there's something that the children are picking up on.
They are.
They're picking up on some vibes, and that lack of clarity with children kind of makes them question their it's gaslighting.
Yeah.
It gaslights.
It does also impact their identity. How do they position themselves? Is this shift due to something I said or did? What is happening?
Yes.
It's so formative in how they start to be able to build up their psyche and rationalize the world.
Very much so.
They can detect the most subtlest of changes.
Very much so. So I think for our children, what I'm discovering is that they see the inequality, right? So children are going to make their own stories unless you give them the story. So the obvious story that children are going to make growing up, particularly in Cape Town, South Africa, is that black people are inferior to white people. Because the white people have the bigger houses, they've got the cars, they've got there must be something inherently inferior, which is, it makes sense, particularly in a capitalistic society, where those things have much more value. So unless we give the children the story, they're going to make it up anyway. Yeah. So
and thereby impacts their self-image, because
big
what does
time.
it mean then if I am black?
Exactly.
And where am I finding my role models?
Yeah. Where am I finding my role models?
I struggle with that so much. My children are black too. And I really struggle because they don't. Where are their role models? My son said to me, we were driving past Masikomulele the other day.
Yes.
And he said, Mom, I'm black. Why don't I live there?
Yes.
Whoa. That's a really legit question.
Wow. Very legit question.
And how far back do I go, my boy? How far back do I go to tell you why you are here and not there? But how?
So Stacey, what did you say in that in that instance?
Oh, I fumbled my way through the Group Areas Act, and they had some questions around that, and you see, for them they're adopted, so technically speaking, if I'm honest, they should be in that township, and so it was their journey out of that township is different to the rest of how Black South Africa would come out of townships.
Yes.
But yeah, that's kind of where I went, and then he did say, well, why did you choose me? So that became a story about adoption. So there's it's identity, right? We're talking identity, and actually, this is something that Senna and I discuss all the time: is what is the identity of South Africans? I mean, you speak about collective healing and coming together to collectively acknowledge where we're at and celebrate where we're at, but we can't do that without acknowledging our collective identity, which is really very, very traumatic and ugly.
100%.
And
yeah.
And I would love to know how you address that, because the people who love you are both Black and white and colored and Indian and everybody.
Yes.
And you, each of them have a different story about how this country got to where we are today.
Yes.
And we would love to be able to say it's a rainbow nation and everybody's so happy and it's, systemic racism is not a thing. The law says we all have equal rights, therefore we do.
Yeah.
How do you use your art to show us differently, and how do you move us towards that collective healing?
What a your word asking you.
We told you we were going.
We told you we were going there.
It's a good question. For the way that I will answer that question, Stacey, is that for me, my gift as an artist, and my mandate as an artist, feels like whatever is going on for me internally and the way that I am processing the world. Part of the art of my art is that also has to happen externally. Yeah. It gets to happen externally. So as I am processing for myself, I'm sharing. So it's not necessarily like I'm trying to teach. Wow. It's like I am learning, and in this process of learning, reflecting. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, the only expert awareness that I have is of growing up in this country as a 43-year-old Black Xhosa woman. Yeah. And that's what makes me an expert on my life, and these are the reflections of my life. It's such a fascinating thing, because so my husband is white. He's grown up in the Northern Cape. Mm-hmm. He's grown up in Kimberley. I remember saying to him when our children when our son was young, was like 2 or 3, and just kind of trying to bring across to him that he's going to have a very different reality. Yeah. Growing up in South Africa, and he didn't quite get it. He was like, he's a child, man. Yeah. I was like, yeah, he's a child, but he's a Black child. He's a Black child. He's not gonna have the same experiences as you are going to have. And I understand why it's difficult for him to understand that, because he hasn't had that lived experience. He hasn't had that lived experience.
He hasn't, and this is what I struggle with, because if I'm talking on behalf of myself, or if I'm talking on behalf of white people in general, our privilege has shielded us from having that experience. Yes. But that's still not an excuse. That's not an excuse to go there. So how long can we say, but I didn't know? No. But now, today, how can you not know? Yeah. Can you still not know? Yeah. And the answer is yes, there's a lot that still do not know. And it's very challenging.
It makes one's stomach churn.
Yeah.
This is why
I say this all the time though as well. Is how do you hold space for someone saying, actually, I didn't know. Yes. What's important, as you said, collective healing, like actually just really moving together. But it requires in South Africa, and Sarah and I, our strategists, speak about this all the time. It requires that you hold space for that. I don't have a better word, but that ignorance that your privilege is facilitated. Yes. But understanding that ignorance is so violent to me. So how can I hold space to take you through the journey, to say when that is so, and quite frankly, you have nothing to lose. It feels very, very imbalanced, but yet it is exactly what we need. So I just don't have the answers as well.
I don't have the answers either. I mean, the other day I was at my kids' school, and I was talking to another parent. This school is it's a government school, but it's one of those government schools that they're very wealthy parents in amongst non-wealthy parents, and it's been traditionally quite mixed in terms of class and race.
Yeah.
So this father had gone to the school himself as a kid, and the mother had gone to the school as a kid. So their children are now going to the school. Very beautiful, very sweet. He's a tourist. He's a tour operator, and we were talking about our industries, and he was saying it's great, and we were talking about the fact that he said there's a lot of white people that they are taking into the townships and giving them these alternative experiences, and just changing the narrative. And I was like, how many of those are white or South African? And he said none. He said none. And I said, okay, maybe there is. I said to him, well, maybe this is an opportunity. Is there an opportunity for you to somehow make it, and I use this word and I cringe now, but palatable and enticing for them to come and have these experiences, and see how the other halves live, like not even half, the majority live. The majority live, because what's happening with these kids, with his kids, is the same thing that happened with me when I was growing up and I went to this multiracial schools that you mentioned. The multiracial school that you mentioned, Stacey, is that I was living in that predominant culture. So I had lots of access to how white people live and how white people see the culture, and that was very obviously the desired and the kind of, as I say, the predominant culture. And there was very little to no curiosity about where I was coming from, and unfortunately it's exactly the same today.
And it's not only the lack of curiosity, because I have a similar experiences, and I think as Black people in South Africa, we live in multitudes. You have proximity to rural culture. No matter your class, you're always going to have Black tax. The richest man in this country's child can't go to school and be taught in their mother tongue. And so there's no amount of money or class privilege that is going to shield you from how the system was sort of designed to exist. But that is the lack of curiosity entering those spaces. The lack of not seeing me in my multitudes is not only a lack of curiosity, it's also just a willful, it's just the ignorance, and that is what is heartbreaking and violent. Because you understand the realities, but there just seems to be a complete disassociation from, and how can you then hold discussions like that? How can you?
But you know what makes
it's not in good faith.
It's not in good faith, and you know what makes it ever harder is that as the white person who has the privilege, who has access to spaces that Sena does not have access to, it is absolutely my duty to bring her voice in there and to show the people in those spaces the absolute power and beauty of diversity. Because that is not something that is, maybe I'm blanket statementing here, but that's not something I experience in many white circles. The absolute desire and belief in the joy. I mean, Sena and I, 40 years ago, we were not allowed to be best friends. My whole life would be different. It would be shaped so entirely different. Anyway, the point is, so I realize that responsibility. And so I do show up in those spaces in that way. But the amount of pushback, it is absolutely exhausting.
Really?
The amount of why should I's, the amount of why do you use the word should, or why do you use the word, there does not seem to be the kind of openness that I would love. But, okay, what I do love is that it brings us back to why we can use places like music and art to unite us. So how do we do that? While being cognizant of where we come from?
How indeed?
I don't know.
Yeah, these are the questions.
You tell us.
How indeed?
Zolani, I'd like to add on to Stacey's question. We were talking about the nostalgia that your voice holds in so many South African stories. Waka Waka, the World Cup. Doobie Doo, so synonymous with that. So you see nation building, and whether or not you designed it that way, your voice literally became the poster child of hope. Whether or not that was cognizant. So there's this bubbling, and there's almost this pinnacle of nation building that happens
Yes.
at the World Cup.
Yes.
And you are sitting there, and this is how we had envisioned it. If there was ever a Rainbow Nation story, now your voice sits at the top of that. We're all organized. And then it slips away again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Were you aware of your position at the time? And then were you aware that you were uniting? And then how did it feel like once you saw it go back again?
Yeah, great questions.
Yeah.
Such great questions. I think definitely there was an awareness, just because of the makeup of the band. The fact that we were a blend of races and cultures and Pan-African, with members from Zimbabwe, from Mozambique, and from Congo DRC. And then the different ages, the youngest Freshly Ground member was like 20 at the beginning, and the oldest one was 43. So we had this whole span of different generations and races and cultures, and all of us were people who were desirous of a more unified Africa, not just South Africa. So in our individual capacities, so that when we came together, it was just beautiful. It was beautiful that even though it wasn't designed for that purpose, it was a beautiful design for whatever forces that brought us together, because we came together very osmotic, very organically. So when we released songs like Doobie Doo, and things like that, those were just really coming from, so I wrote that, I wrote all those lyrics. It just came from a natural vision that I wanted to see, and that collectively then as a group that we wanted to see in our country and in our world. By the time Waka Waka came around, it was like a beautiful confluence of coincidence, whatever, that put us in New York at the time that the guy Johnny Hill was producing this track for Shakira, and we happened to be in the same studio, and then we wrote that bridge. And then that song happened to be a song that was already within kind of the African sphere. It was a West African song. It was already like people had a connection with that song. And then the World Cup happening, and that feeling of unity, and that feeling of accomplishment, and that feeling of the realization of a dream, like that feeling once again, like that we have as South Africans, and various moments of like, yeah, we can do this, and we are together, yes. And then there's the Zuma years, all that stuff, and the waning. When I look back now, I can feel, I'm not answering your question exactly, but I can feel like with the disillusionment of, as you say, of that poster of the Rainbow Nation, and there was also then the kind of less of an interest in what Freshly Ground had represented.
My goodness.
Totally. So I feel
you felt the shift in real time.
I felt it, but I didn't realize what it was.
Yeah.
I didn't realize what it was. It's only really in retrospect, in hindsight, that I feel like that there was like this feeling like you were associated with that time and that vision of hope, and it's not panning out. So like,
my goodness. The receptivity to the music and that core idea.
Yeah.
You felt it.
I did feel it. And I think it's okay. Like now when I look back on, it's okay. We all put our hope in these symbols and in these icons. And I think the work is greater, man. The work is so much greater. The work is all of those people that you encounter having that sense of like, wow, there is value actually in me investigating who I am in this society and who else is around in the society, like really assigning value to other people, assigning value to other people where you don't have to. That's a whole nother level of like of internal work that I think most white South Africans have yet to do in our country.
I love that idea of assigning value. That's
Assigning value.
When you don't have to.
Where you don't have to.
Yeah.
When you don't have to.
It requires a self-introspection, as you said.
100%.
And you are so big on healing. I know that you've constantly reinvented yourself. And I do think that in order to undergo that journey of constant reinvention, you must be someone that sits inwards and thinks a lot. Probably sometimes. I know, though, that as someone that resonates with that and having to constantly reinvent, I know that comes at a cost. To be connected and to be grounded means that sometimes you have to face things that you don't want to face. But I'm wondering, as Black people now, you described your uncle and him having this whole other life and now only writing a book about it. I firmly believe that we have so much somatic trauma sitting in our bodies, at which addressing and healing and introspecting on that may seem like actually a luxury when you spend so long navigating the systems and the dynamics that we have to.
Totally.
But it's also so important for
I
us.
agree with you so much. I don't know how to talk. I don't know how to talk about it. And so like if I'm thinking now, so I don't know. So I've just started to, on TikTok, I've just started to address people in Xhosa. Okay. Which is a very interesting thing for me because, yes, I'm Xhosa. I'm very much Xhosa. I've been very lucky that my father has introduced to us like Xhosa rituals and customs, and that has definitely formed a part of my identity, particularly in the last 4 years, like for myself, like personally, outside of just like having to do it in a family circumstance, right?
Yeah.
And yet I've had that complexity, like it sounds like you have as well, of being in these predominantly white spaces, right? And so like kind of having a bit of a cultural disconnect. Having a bit of a cultural and social disconnect because of my privilege.
Yeah.
Because of my privilege, because of the schools that I've gone to, which has affected all of my opportunities, which are so much more than so many of the people of our country. And yet, as somebody who is an activist, let's say, somebody who is interested in using my experience, my voices, my gifts to heal myself, and through that to also kind of somehow facilitate that, helping other people. How can we talk about this healing when it feels so the language feels so foreign.
yes.
The language feels so foreign. I feel like for myself, I am healing a part of myself by starting to address people in the language of my home, right? And like trying to address, there's something there. I'm trying to find the language myself.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find a language myself that's not English. It's not like I'm going to be saying to these people like, okay, me time. Everyone knows these like self-care and all these buzzwords, but how do we speak about it in a way that's going to really resonate and that's really going to land? I don't know, in a way that feels like.
And language is a big part of it.
It's a huge part of it.
Stacey, we were talking about the concept of Ubuntu. And I was saying to you that I don't think, even though we read up so much on the philosophy of Ubuntu, the way it resonates with me, Ubuntu, is so different than what I can articulate in English.
Yes.
Similarly, a lot of my healing journey has come through Western therapy needs, and so the language I have acquired to identify the triggers in my body is completely in English, and even my emotional brain, how I process. I notice that I do that primarily in English.
Totally.
So how do I take that and say, yes, go.
Yeah, exactly.
Your chronic back pain, have you, or something, you just, it's so important. And I firmly believe as well, and I think this is why I believe in the power of conversation, to find the vocabulary to be able to describe the experience is so pivotal in healing. And we haven't developed it yet. It hasn't been allowed to be developed, nor have we had the grace or space to do it without having to dedicate the mental energy into surviving our lives.
And
to be Black is to survive.
100%. And we can't no more. We condom or not in this world, man, where we, I don't know, we're big now. Do you know what I mean? Like, or at least, okay, let me talk for myself. I'm 43. I have realized that I am now closer to that to that next chapter, which is like coming to a close. I've got these young ones that are coming. Now we're thinking about what is the legacy. What's the legacy? What do I want to leave for them? What are the stories that I want to leave for my own children? And for me now I'm very lucky in that I don't have to only think about my own children. I'm thinking about the children of our nation. So what role can I play that will leave a better story for them? Knowing the value of stories and the stories that we tell ourselves about ourselves. What are the stories? How can we change our narratives? But to speak to abantu, speaking to people, you've got your mandate. Go speak to the white people, Stacey. Go speak to the white people. Bring them.
I got this.
Okay, listen.
You got this.
Leave this with me.
Speak to the white people.
A gift of yapping, you may sing. She will yap.
Go, bring them. I'll also do my bit, I like that. I'll try because
You got access.
I've got access.
You got a lot of access.
I've got a lot of access, and I'll do it in my soft, gentle way. You know what? I'll do it. But you got your mandate. But like, how can I also bring the many people that I'm connected to, who don't have that access and who don't have those tools, who don't have those words. What are the words that are already there as well? Because they are actually also embedded in the language. This in the languages.
Wow.
This is now also another legacy of apartheid, is that I've got a disconnection from so much of that wealth, from so much of the wealth of that indigenous knowledge that I've gotten disconnected from by my parents wanting to provide a better story for me, a better life for me. So they are in this multiracial schools, whatever. But there is stuff that has been lost. So it's not just me sharing my knowledge with people. When I say people, Abantu, black people, there's so much that I need to learn. There's so much that I need to learn. Yeah.
I think the challenge is so clear for all of us. It is. It's terrifying in its magnitude, but it is also such an opportunity. You use the word, and I think you can overuse the word opportunity, but honestly, this is something that is a personal call to action.
Yes.
Every one of us has privilege in different circumstances. Yes. We need to, I believe this, we need to, using our privilege, whatever our privilege is in those circumstances, to bring in the voices that aren't there.
I'm there, Stacey. I'm on your team.
Can you do us a little closing?
Of course.
A little do-we-do?
Oh, hell yes.
What do you think?
I can definitely do this.
Oh, it would be so beautiful.
I'm going to preface it. I'm going to sing Doobie-Doo for you. I'm going to preface it by saying when these words came to me and when the song was being written in the early 2000s here in Cape Town, it came from such a naive, joyful space. I think the song, so many years on, maybe 25 years on, or almost, certainly 20 years on, it is still one of the songs that people of all races, cultures here in our country, and ages, guys, from like little children to much older people. I feel like there's a dream that's embedded in the song. And it's a naive dream, but it's a beautiful dream. And I think that the reason so many people still sing it, even without even realizing it, they don't realize what they even like singing and buying into. But I feel like there's embedded in this song a dream of a society that is integrated, that does see each other, that does place value on our neighbors. That does place value on the sanctity of childhood. Children will play in the streets loving everyone they meet. That's a freedom. That is really like, there's community embedded in the song. our leaders will be accountable. You know, I can't wait to be there in line, like those first voters in 1994 for the first time voting, you know, for a better country, for the first time in their country.
Hey, I've got the chills.
I
And it's not
can't
because it's winter.
Yay! I can't wait to be there in line. So let's make that line. So okay, all right. Are you ready, yo?
So ready.
Did you hear the news on the radio today? People have agreed to give their love away. I can't wait to be there in line. Oh no. The politicians have agreed to honor and obey. They'll come down and listen to what the people say. I can't wait to be there in line. Oh no. Whoa, doobie 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 doo. Ba-dum bum 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 ba-dum da-dum bum 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 ba-dum. Come on now. Doobie 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 doo. Ba-dum bum 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 ba-dum ba-dum bum 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 ba-dum. The children will play in the streets, loving everyone they meet. Open hearts will be the rhythm of the day. Neighbors will greet each other. Come on, sisters and the brothers. Even enemies will come to be friends. Oh, I can't wait to be there in line. No. So, to be due. To be due. Thank you guys.
Thank you
for providing the space. Thank you very much for providing the space. It's very, very necessary. And I see you and I hear you and I thank you.
Oh,
Beautiful.
till next time.
Until next time.